Welcome to this edition of the First Aid Show. Now in this edition we're going to follow on from a couple other videos we've done where we've talked about some operations actually I've had. Now this video is on the total ankle replacement. Now, just to give you a little bit of history, 30 years ago I was hit by a drunk driver, had broken ankles very badly, given me trouble a lot of times, and in the last 2 years had a series of 6 operations. So the first one was the ankle arthroscopies, and they were covered on a separate video. And then after that had subtalar fusion. This is where you have a bolt driven in through your heel and it actually secures the bone joint in your heel. So over time the bone grows and then you don't have that joint anymore. And the idea there is primarily pain relief. Also, the subtalar fusion is often done before the ankle replacement because you need to have a good structure of the foot there and no other problems before you can have the ankle replacement. So it's quite common to have the subtalar fusion and then the ankle replacement because the key difference between the two operations is subtalar fusion, you need to be in plaster for a long period of time, whereas with the ankle replacement, you're only in plaster for 2 weeks and then into the boot. So you do need to be able to move the joint. That's why they do the operations separately. So looking more at the total ankle replacement, the idea here is to remove the ankle joint and replace it with nylon and titanium. Now within this it's quite a straightforward operation from the patient's point of view. Literally you attend hospital, the usual requirements, you can't eat beforehand, so you need to make sure you don't eat before you have the operation. But also anything sometimes a few days or a week beforehand, you'll also have a pre-assessment. Now this would include having swabs and having tests and having some medical data taken just to make sure that there's no other risk or there's no other conditions and know your blood group and things like that prior to the surgery. On operation day, you'll see usually the surgeon and you'll see the anaesthetist, and then you'll be taken down for surgery. Now with my operations, they took around about 2 hours, I suppose, in total in the time before you come round. The actual surgery itself was relatively straightforward, had no major problems with those. There was a little bit of difference between the left and right ankle and the size of the actual ankle replacement there. But when you come round, you'll have a half cast plaster. So that is just plaster around the back of the ankle and then bandaged over the top. The reason for this is to allow swelling, so that the bandage will allow the swelling to increase, because you will find your feet start to get a little bit puffy. Now during the surgery, they'll often give a pain blocker, which is like an anaesthetic, directly into the joint. Now the theory is that it will take then the pain away, so when you come round, your foot is actually numb. In my case, just being awkward, that just didn't seem to work. Only after one of the operations, I had a very slight numbness for about half an hour and that was it. But that's a reason, something different with me to others. So generally speaking, the pain is controlled. They will also give you pain relief, so you may have intravenous pain relief and tablets, because the important thing is to keep the pain levels down to a controllable level. Different hospitals will keep you in hospital for different lengths of time. With my hospital, I was out the next day, so I had the surgery about 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30, and then about lunchtime the second day I was out. Now, when you're coming out, if you've got, in my case was 2 feet, so I was actually the second one walking on a more injured ankle. But generally speaking, you'll be up on crutches. So the next day I was up on crutches with the physio to check, making sure I could walk okay. But you will find yourself tired. You have just had an anaesthetic, so you do need to be taking it really, really carefully. So usually use a wheelchair, get to the car, get yourself home. Now, the key thing is you're going to be stuck, at least for those 2 weeks, in the state where you can't put your foot down, you're walking around on crutches. So a good thing to do before the operation is to make sure that your home is ready. You've got everything you need. You've maybe got a bed downstairs if that's easier. And just everything you need is in place. So when you come out, it's a lot simpler. Now you're going to need someone to help look after you as well. That's absolutely vital because you're just going to be restricted to what you can do. During those first 2 weeks, it's literally a matter of keeping the foot elevated. You'll notice if you put your foot down, just go to the loo, you'll find it would turn a bright pink colour and then lift it up and it goes back to normal. So that is just normal, that's nothing to worry about. So keep the foot elevated for 2 weeks, and then normally after that 2-week process, you'll then go to your surgeon and they'll check it over the joint, maybe do x-rays, in my case not, but they will take that cast off and then put you into the boot, and this is air cast boot. Now we've covered how to use the boot in other videos. Now once they take the cast off, you can then start to see the sorts of levels of the scarring that's involved. So looking at the scarring you'll end up with after the operation, obviously I've had both feet done, so you can see 2 sites there, but the initial line down here is where they do the main cut. Both operations are slightly different in how long the cut is, but it depends on the act of the surgery. But you also might get some marks down here. This is how they hold the skin back. So with this foot, when I first came out after the first operation, there was quite a lot of marks down here. But those marks go. They start off like blisters and they come off and they vanish. As you can see here, this is around about 6 weeks after the operation. So most of the marks have actually gone already. The key mark down here, then you had odd other little cuts like these up here. They're just used when they're securing the equipment. The other key area of pain is just up onto the knee. You'll get a very small cut just underneath the knee. It's what they use to line the ankle up. So as they're doing the ankle replacement, they put a brace on to make sure they put it in the right way. Because what you don't want an ankle replacement is them putting it in place, but actually your foot is pointed in the wrong direction. I'm not sure the exact way, but basically it was described to me as they put a screw straight into your bone. You might think, oh, a little cut like that's no problem. After the surgery, that became a little bit of a problem, because if you're hopping around on one leg and you go to kneel down, just rest your leg against the bed or on a sofa or something, that I found was very, very painful. So just be aware of that. It's a very small mark, but now 6 weeks after, it's reasonably flat, but it's got cleared it quite well. So moving back down to the ankle itself, I had subtalar fusion beforehand. For that, you'll get a scar round on the side. And other little scars, but that's the key scar there where they actually fuse, and also where they put the bolt in through the bottom of your foot, you'll have a mark there. But it comes out very, very quickly. The mark vanishes in the soles of your feet, and the scar around here is minimal, really. And again, depending on the surgery. The key difference you'll notice with when you put your feet down is you'll notice that straight after the operation, the feet will come very red. You might also notice swelling after the operation as you get, sometimes just literally the line of a sock there can mean you have a swelling up here and you literally see a big dent in your leg. That's quite common. You just about see it on here now, but really, you know, the scarring, it goes. While we're sort of down on this area, other things you notice after the operation is numbness. So this foot here is about 8 months since the first operation. All the area around the inside here is reasonably numb. I can feel my fingers going down it, but it is a lack of sensation. I'm told that will go or it may stay, but it's no real major thing. The only real time you notice is if you're putting shoes on and you do the laces up, it just feels a bit odd, but generally speaking, that's not a problem. With this foot, it's obviously it's near the operation, but it's quite a lot of numbness straight across here. This area here is virtually numb altogether. Now I didn't have that on that one, but very, very numb in this area, but also around here, quite a lot of numb area. So it's just really a matter of waiting and seeing how that numbness develops. But I wouldn't worry about the numbness long term on this. It's not a major problem. So now we've looked at the scarring elements, you've got an idea what the actual wound is like. You will need just to keep an eye just in case there's any infections or anything like that come up. But after you've done that 2 weeks in the plaster, you're then typically 4 weeks in the orthopedic boot. And where you're going with the boot, often you don't need to sleep in the boot, so it starts to get a lot more comfortable in the evenings. So you can just take the boot off if you're just sat watching telly with your foot up. It's no problem. You can start walking, you can start balancing. So over time, you'll find you'll be able to put a little bit more weight on the foot and you can start to balance yourself much, much better. At the 6 weeks post-op, after they've done the 4 weeks in the boot, then typically then you'd have x-rays. And these will often be weight-bearing x-rays so that the surgeon can actually see that the ankle joint is functioning correctly and everything's all okay. And then he'll give you guidance for what physiotherapy you're going to need and also what other care you need to do with the ankle. So the important thing is to get it moving, getting it working. Now, just briefly look at pain. Now, pain will be different on everybody. If you've had a bad car accident or sports injury and you've had to have ankle replacement surgery, you may well find that you put the ankle in, pain goes away, absolutely brilliant. Now, mine was a little bit different and others may be the same. Because I've had a long-term issue with the ankles, the problem then is my ankles now move in ways they haven't moved for nearly 30 years. So the problem being, as they start moving, they're putting more pressure on all the soft tissues, more pressure on all the other bones in your foot, so you may well find the pain gets quite serious. Now, I don't like taking painkillers, but sometimes you have to. And there's lots of cases, and you can talk to your GP or your surgeon about sorts of painkillers you can take. It may well be you just have something like ibuprofen to reduce swelling and take the pain away, maybe paracetamol, codeine mixes. There's lots of other pain treatments you can have, the likes of tramadol or other drugs, but you've got to obviously be careful you don't become reliant on the painkillers. The other thing is patches. Pain relief patches are given to some people. They can be quite useful in longer term chronic type pain. Not any use for short term pain, but for a longer period of time. But the key thing is with my ankles, what I'm going to have to do is start pushing through now. Now both ankles are done, more physiotherapy, start to walk correctly again, and learning to walk in the right way, getting through the pain, getting through the elements, start to walk, and then hopefully should have a much better pain-free time. Now they talk about how long it takes to get over the ankles to be somewhere in the region of a year and a half, depending on how long you've had the problem. So if it's an initial problem, then you can get like a straightforward break, then no worries. But with mine, probably will be quite a considerable time for recovery. So the hope is, as time goes on, they get better and better. I can walk unaided, get her out and about. Then, as far as the actual ankles, how long will they last? Again, depends on what use you have with them. It's not really there. I'm not going to start taking off loads of sports and things and putting a lot of effort and damage onto them. But there is a joint that can wear out. But they're hoping around about the 10-year life on them. Then maybe they can do a replacement of the ankle replacement. So you can literally have that replacement out and another one put in, which hopefully will then give me another 10 years. And after that, then other options can be maybe another ankle replacement. In that time, they might be able to do all sorts of fancy things. Or maybe ankle fusion to actually just fuse the entire ankle joint so that it just doesn't move. But then theoretically that takes the pain away, but also in turn that actually puts more and more strain on other parts of the foot.